I don't know if you've noticed, but Donald Trump is a fascist. Too harsh, you say? Consider this, my friends. Over the past week, Trump has repeatedly compared his political opponents to vermin who he will root out. Some in the media are starting to suspect that the guy who sent a violent mob to murder his vice president so he could stay in power might have a dark side.
The propaganda apparatus of the Democrat Party, in the meantime, they're sacking, looting, and plundering every synagogue in the country. Every night is Crystal Night. Little Crystal Night reference there. You know, the Democrats couldn't celebrate Veterans Day last weekend because they were still hungover from Kristallnacht. No sense of irony, these people. Yeah, I'm sorry, Stephen Colbert, he sent a mob to kill his vice president. I think that's a writer's embellishment there. But the Democrats did loot and burn my city more than once, including on Donald Trump's inauguration day. Pay no attention to any of that. I want to get in this hour to the fun on Capitol Hill yesterday, where former Speaker Kevin McCarthy allegedly threw an elbow into the kidney of one of his fellow House members, someone with whom he has a bit of a gripe. One of the 8 Republicans that did not support then Speaker McCarthy when it came to a vote. And you remember every single Democrat goose-stepped in lockstep with the party to unseat the Republican Speaker, and 8 Republicans went along with it. Yesterday, every single Democrat in the Senate, 51 of them, voted to not fund Israel after some of them went out onto the mall to enjoy the gigantic rally in favor of civilization yesterday. And then the Democrat hypocrites went into the Senate and voted down $14.3 billion in aid, our money that will never actually pay because it just is added to the tab that will never be paid because the Democrats and the left are looking to bankrupt the United States of America and smash capitalism worldwide. But never mind that. Yeah, so I want to get to there are 2 stories, and then in the Senate, the Teamster gangster who threatened a U.S. senator, and the media is okay with that because they're Democrats and they love violence, they love shootings, carjackings are their favorite these days. Don't you think that those are they love looting. They certainly love looting. It's become quite a casual affair with the Democrats looting. So many stores are looted every day in America that it's not even news. Stores are closing down all over the place because they got this CVS store in Washington where they have pictures of products on the shelves, and you have to find an employee and say, I'd like the real version of this picture of paper towels. Then they go back and get it. They get you one because the Democrats come in and steal everything all the time, and they're violent. Not that that's important, except that civilization is teetering on the brink, and the Democrats are shoving civilization toward the cliff. But that aside, today is also Mailbag Day, and Hillary Clinton has got to get out of the house because Bill is in there, and it's hump day. And you know how that goes. Now, let's go to the mailbag, because I'd like to go to the mailbag now. And we'll get to the fracas, the raucous day on Capitol Hill. Fun. But the mailbag, how many questions? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. You always pick 5. Five questions. Rusty Doolittle. I like that, Rusty Doolittle. Asks, do you have any Chinese business associates? Everybody in Washington seems to have them. Ni hao, Rusty Doolittle. Xinhua Pingha Tiba. No, I don't have any Chinese business associates. Interestingly enough, the Biden family has many. Joe Biden is meeting with the communist leader Xi Jinping and here's another crazy thing. The location and the timing of the Biden-Xi Jinping meeting is a secret because communism. And so they're not revealing when or where the communist meeting is taking place. And I assume that Xi Jinping brought a check for Joe Biden, because you know how the Bidens love to gobble up millions of dollars from China and from Ukraine and from various other hellholes around the world, but pay no attention to any of that. The meeting is coming after Xi Jinping was greeted by throngs of Chinese flag-waving Americans in San Francisco, including children that the Democrats put out there to welcome the communists to San Francisco. And literally the streets I saw, my best girl showed me a video this morning of school children lining the street in San Francisco, waving Chinese, not American flags, not Israeli flags. Usually they wave Hamas flags these days, but waving Chinese communist flags, and just appalling. And Gavin Newsom greeted the Communist Party leader when he arrived in California, and now he rules the roost. He's got to feel like he owns California and owns the United States. But Rusty Doolittle, I do not have any that I can think of. Chinese business. Michael, are you Chinese? No. Okay. Michael's not Chinese. And the Chinese have not given me millions of dollars. But if they'd like to give me millions of dollars for which I would do nothing, kind of like the Biden family, in theory, wink, wink, I'd take it. Everybody in Washington does seem to have Chinese business associates, especially if your name is Biden. A lot of that. But Rusty Doolittle, I'm going to keep looking around. I'm going to see if I have any Chinese business associates. Alan asks, what's your biggest takeaway from today's rally for Jewish freedom in D.C.? I would say that the civilized world will win in the end. That's my takeaway. If I'm looking for one now, and honestly, we are under assault. Western civilization is under assault by the jihad and by the left. And the jihad has never been more inspired than they are today. After September 11th, 2001, that was one day in the jihad. You know, the jihad has been underway since the Prophet Muhammad was alive and walking the earth. And, invading Israel and what is now Israel, the Holy Land, the Crusades, that was the jihad. The Barbary pirates, that was jihad. September 11th was jihad. Iran is the big leader of the jihad. And we learned yesterday that Joe Biden is freeing up another $10 billion for the jihad. He gave the Ayatollahs $6 billion to free 5 American hostages. We don't negotiate with terrorists. No, we just give them $6 billion. And now the latest news is that the Biden administration is freeing up yet another $10 billion for Iran, which is to say that they're putting $10 billion in the coffers of the jihadis, of the jihad, which is genocidally racist, anti-Semitic, genocidally, and genocidally anti-Western. And their number one target is not even Israel, it's the United States of America. And thanks to Barack Hussein Obama and Joe Biden and Boltneck John Kerry, they got tens of billions of dollars during the Obama administration, and they're spinning centrifuges, enriching uranium, and making great leaps in their ballistic missile program, where they're developing intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, which they have every intention of mounting with nuclear weapons and using on the United States of America. And I live in Washington, D.C., so I got a dog in this fight, and so does everybody else. So does civilization. But my takeaway yesterday is that America is still a civilized country. The Democrats and the jihadis, but I repeat myself. The pro-Hamas people and the Democrats, but I repeat myself. They put hundreds of people, even thousands of people in the streets, chanting from the river to the sea, which is a genocidal call for the total destruction of the state of Israel. They vandalize and they attack and they burn and they use red paint to attack the White House, and they accuse Israel of being genocidal because it's the old Soviet playbook that they accuse you of doing whatever they're doing. That's the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is the biggest threat to Western civilization right now. China, communist China, is a close second. Putin wants to compete. The jihad is right in there, headed by the Ayatollahs in Tehran, Iran, who fund Hamas, Hezbollah, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the Houthi rebels in Yemen and beyond. And they're coming for us, and we have a jellyfish in the White House that doesn't have two brain cells to rub together. Biden mulls approval of fresh $10 billion for Iran. Sanctions waiver frees up money for Tehran as it funds Hamas's war on Israel. The Washington Free Beacon has the story, and the Washington Post doesn't. Adam Credo. The Biden administration may approve a sanctions waiver on Iran that will allow Iran to access at least $10 billion in previously frozen funds held in Iraq. A closely watched decision that comes just a month after the Tehran-backed terror group Hamas launched an attack on Israel that left 1,200 dead. I believe the number is 1,400, plus the hostages. Joe Biden is not on our side. So that's the biggest takeaway, Alan, from the rally. Kind of a long answer, I think. Robert asks, what do you suggest to people that are overwhelmed by the constant, over-dramatic news cycle? A very good question, and I know a lot of people that have told me that just kind of overwhelmed, feel crushed by all the madness. I would say listen to the Chris Plant Show every day, and you have to learn to take everything in stride and take everything with a sense of humor, and I live by that, and I was raised on that. My mother, a Depression-era baby, a World War II, a child of World War II that married a World War II veteran who died at the age of 38, suddenly of a heart attack, leaving her with 4 little boys, one of them being me, when she was 32 years old, I believe. Life is going to throw a lot of crazy stuff at you, and you have to be able to take it in stride, and you have to learn to laugh even at the most awful things as you move through the craziness. Now, that said, listen to the Chris Plant Show. Listen to a positive talk radio, cheerful talk radio. And limit your news intake on television and on the internet as well. But if you're really feeling stressed, then pick one news show on Newsmax that you like to watch. Maybe pick one on Fox News that you like to watch. But turn it off. I turn it off. I do. When I leave, my best girl and I, we go out and we drink beer. We did last night. And we don't talk shop. I don't talk shop when I'm away from work. I don't look for political discussions when I'm not here. I don't. I turn it off. Even when I'm watching television, and it's always television news, I can turn it off. But I'm good at that. I do it for a living. Abby asks, do you think bribing, that's good, a combination, a portmanteau of Biden and bribery, do you think bribing knows that walking hair gel advertisement Gavin is low-key stabbing him in the back to become president? Do you think Joe Biden knows that Gavin Newsom is lurking in the wings to stab him and take the presidency? I think he knew it, but he forgot it. I think the people around him know it. But I don't think Joe Biden's even going to be the nominee next year for the Democrat Party. Does he know? He kind of knows that Gavin Newsom is lurking, but he doesn't retain information for very long. So his memory is cleansed twice a day. I don't think it's an issue for him. Mike asks, so they came up with a 2-state solution. Israel is a beautiful and free society, and the Palestinians created a charcoal, hideous beep hole. And Hamas has been putting all their efforts into digging an elaborate tunnel system. Would you say they're evolving into Morlocks? That's a good question from Mike. You know, from H.G. Wells, The Time Machine, the Morlocks are the troglodytes that are eating the Eloi, you know, the peace-loving people on Earth. I'd say they've evolved, Mike. They're there. They are troglodytes. I've been calling them troglodytes forever. And the troglodytes, the pit and cave dwelling primitives, I think they are effectively Morlocks. Or troglodytes, which is a fun word too. A great question, Mike, a fun question. Hey, do you have odors in your home that you just can't get rid of, can't shake off? Well, now you can get rid of any stinky odor with the Eden Pure Thunderstorm Air Purifier. The Thunderstorm gets rid of strong odors from smoking and litter boxes and cooking, and even leftists are no match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. The Thunderstorm starts working in a matter of seconds to clear any room of any odor. Plus, there are no expensive filters to buy that you've got to replace on a schedule. How annoying. You can hold one in your hand, an Eden Pure Thunderstorm. They're only this big. Hundreds of thousands of units sold. Thousands of 5-star reviews all over Al Gore's amazing internet. And this week, I've got a great deal for you to get your own Thunderstorms for whole home protection. Right now, you can get $200 off when you get 3 Eden Pure Thunderstorms for whole home protection. Put one in the teenager's room. Give one to your stinky brother-in-law. That's 3 units for under $200. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com and enter the discount code Chris. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is CHRIS. And because you know me, you get free shipping. All right, and that's our mailbag. Wonderful mailbag questions. And great answers, too, I've got to say. We are at 888-630-9625. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. Well, Michael just gave me one more mailbag question, too, from Dan Rader, with pictures of 4 puppies. Which of these 4 8-week-old pups of mine would you choose? Beaker, Buffy, Chunka, or Ling Ling? From top left to bottom right. I actually have an answer for this. It would be Beaker, upper left. Reminds me of my Springer Spaniel. When I lived in California, reminds me of Springer Spaniel. I couldn't choose Ling Ling because that's a communist name. I think Ling Ling might, you should talk to Fang Fang. See whether Fang Fang would like to get Ling Ling. Ling Ling was one of the Chinese pandas, too. But I would choose Beaker, because it reminds me of my Springer Spaniel. Friendly, happy dog. Annie was the Springer Spaniel. Let's go to yesterday on the mall in the shadow of the Capitol. At least early in the morning, it's in the shadow of the Capitol. The giant, peaceful rally of people that love civilization, as opposed to the left, with the rampant anti-Semitism and the rioting and the looting and the burning and the Democrat stuff. The left is here. They're not liberals. They're the left. Keep that in mind. Completely different animal. But some kind of amusing stuff happened on Capitol Hill yesterday because, not everybody up there likes each other, and that's understandable, I think. There is a congressman, a Republican by the name of Tim Burchett. Burchett. I go with Burchett. Hear different pronunciations on the television news. But Tim Burchett and Kevin McCarthy are not great friends because Tim Burchett is one of 8 Republicans that voted against Kevin McCarthy, and every single Democrat goose-stepping in unison, as always, without deviation, not free to think for themselves. They all voted to get rid of Kevin McCarthy because they knew it would create chaos, and they are agents of chaos, if nothing else. But one of the people that voted against Kevin, one of the Republicans that voted against Kevin McCarthy, there are only 8 of them, was Tim Burchett. And according to 100 news reports, because the Democrats love chaos in the Republican ranks, whereas the Democrats could loot your grandmother's bedroom and they'd make no mention of it at the Washington Post. GOP Rep Tim Burchett accuses Kevin McCarthy of elbowing him in the kidneys. I was like, every news report says in the kidneys. Now, that would take 2 elbows. They elbowed him in the kidney, in a kidney, not in the kidneys. You can't hit both kidneys with one elbow and one swing, but okay. Ex-speaker denies it. He says, didn't happen. I wasn't even there. I don't even know the guy. GOP Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee accused former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy of elbowing him in the kidneys, CNN types, or the kidney, Tuesday morning while Burchett was talking to a reporter. It was an NPR reporter, by the way. The latest sign of how tense the dynamics are in the House GOP conference. They're not tense over on the Democrat side, where they're calling for genocide of the Jewish people and for the extermination of the state of Israel from the river to the sea. But that doesn't cause any tension over there because, they're the left. And nobody's killed more people than the left in the history of the world. Burchett was one of the 8 Republicans who voted to oust McCarthy. He has been heavily criticized, heavily critical, of the former speaker, and the alleged altercation is indicative of the pressure cooker dynamics in the House GOP right now. That's more propaganda from a fraud at CNN, a couple of frauds. Annie Grayer and Melanie Zanona typed this up on behalf of the Democrat Party. And they like to create this perception. It's, as I've said a couple of times lately, the role of the media is to convince the American people that the views of 10% of the public are actually the views of 80% of the public. And the goose-stepping Democrats who march in lockstep at all times, never have any divergence of opinion, always vote the same way, as in when 50 Democrat senators yesterday voted not to fund Israel with the $14.3 billion that we keep talking about in Washington, but not doing anything about. And 100% of goose-stepping, including Chuck Schumer, of goose-stepping Democrats voted against the $14.3 billion for Israel. So let's go to Tim Burchett. So it was kind of a funny thing, and it's true that the former speaker, Kevin McCarthy, denied it, and there's apparently no video, even though he's standing there, Burchett, talking to an NPR reporter. I guess that's radio, but don't they have like 35 staffers for every reporter? We do a 3-hour show. It's me and Michael, right? At NPR, suckling on the taxpayer teat. 35 people doing their 3-hour show that's on at the same time. But never mind that. Here's Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee.
Well, I was doing an interview with Claudia from NPR.
Claudia from NPR.
A lovely lady. And
lovely.
She was asking me a question. And at that time, I got elbowed in the back. And it kind of caught me off guard because it was a clean shot to the kidneys. And I turned back, and there was Kevin.
Both kidneys.
And I for a minute, I was kind of, what the heck just happened? And then
what the heck?
I chased after him, of course. He's as I've stated many times, he's a bully with $17 million in a security detail. He's the type of guy that when you're a kid would throw a rock over the fence and run home and hide behind his mama's skirt. And he just, he from behind, that kind of stuff. That's not the way we handle things in East Tennessee. If we have a problem with somebody, I'm going to look them in the eye.
Yeah. No, he doesn't seem like a bad guy. Yesterday, he seemed like a perfectly decent guy, and the whole episode was kind of interesting. I didn't know Kevin McCarthy cared enough to, go around throwing elbows. They talk a lot about throwing sharp elbows on Capitol Hill. This is the first time I've actually heard of it happening. Somebody throwing a sharp elbow. The headline from left-wing Mediaite, jerk, all caps, exclamation mark, in quotation marks. House Republican goes off on Kevin McCarthy, claims ex-speaker pushed him in wild confrontation. Well, he claims he elbowed him and says it was a sharp elbow. And the left-wing reporter suckling on the taxpayer teat for National Panhandler Radio, Claudia Grisales was the one he was talking to, says, have never seen this on Capitol Hill, with all capital letters on never. While talking to Representative Tim Burchett after the GOP conference meeting, former Speaker Kevin McCarthy walked by with his detail, and McCarthy shoved Burchett. Burchett lunged toward me. Maybe he's just trying to cop a cheap feel or something. I thought it was a joke. It was not. A chase ensued, she writes. Burchett's back was to McCarthy and his detail walking by in the hallway. Then the lunge, as you'd think it's like the Kennedy assassination. And in the Zapruder film, Frame 232 shows what really happened. Isn't that amazing? So that was kind of an amusing one. Now let's go to the other one, because the other one, and that was, Kevin McCarthy says, no, that's not what happened. I was walking by and he gave some kind of lame excuses. But he is one of 8 Republicans that voted to kick him out as Speaker, so that might lead to some, sour feelings. Now, this one I think is more fun, actually, because there's a senator from Oklahoma whose first name is MarkWayne. MarkWayne. His brother is Bruce Wayne. Just kidding, I made that up. But it's MarkWayne Mullin, M-U-L-L-I-N. And MarkWayne Mullin is a pretty interesting guy. And he's been on my TV show on Newsmax, and I like him. This is one of the problems with, working with and interviewing politicians. You might like him, yeah? But Mullin's a good guy, and he's a Republican, and he's from Oklahoma, and he's a normal person. Remember, normal. So yesterday there was a hearing, and this thug, who is the head of the Teamsters Union, was the witness. And it turns out that the witness had threatened this senator, Senator Mullin, repeatedly on social media. And the Teamster chief fancies himself a gangster, all right? The Teamsters boss calls himself SOB, and he wants everyone to know it. Sean O'Brien is his name, so naturally the initials SOB fall right into place. Son of beach. And so Sean O'Brien's tough tactics resulted in a deal with UPS and defeated at Yellow. Now, this is that Wall Street Journal piece on this gangster. So this wannabe gangster at the Teamsters Union, Sean O'Brien, he has threatened Senator Mullin repeatedly. Now, you should know that Senator Mullin is probably 5'10". He's about my height, and he's a sturdy guy, kind of muscle-bound guy. He lifts weights, and it happened to come up when we were at Newsmax. He lifts more than 400 pounds, and he fought 3 professional mixed martial arts fights, and he won all of them very handily. Combined, all 3 fights, he didn't fight for more than 10 minutes. It was less than 10 minutes. So he's, taking these people out, knockouts or technical knockouts in these mixed martial arts fights, all 3 of them, in short order. It doesn't equal 1 round per fight for the 3 fights, right? So he can fight, and he's strong, and he can lift weights. And this Teamster gangster has threatened him repeatedly in tweet form, naturally. Here's Senator MarkWayne Mullin yesterday at the hearing when he had this Teamster gangster, Sean O'Brien, in front of him under oath.
Let's talk about Mr. O'Brien himself, his behavior. As everybody knows, and it's here in the last time, him and I kind of had a back and forth. Appreciate your demeanor today. It's quite different. But after you left here, you got pretty excited about the keyboard. In fact, you tweeted at me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And let me read what the last one said. It said, greedy CEO who pretends like he's self-made. Sir, I wish you was in the truck with me when I was building my plumbing company myself, and my wife was running the office, because I sure remember working pretty hard and long hours. Pretends like he's self-made. What a clown. Fraud. Always has been, always will be. Quit the tough guy act in these Senate hearings. You know where to find me, any place, anytime, cowboy.
So this gangster, wannabe gangster with the Teamsters, which has a long history of gangsterism, is threatening a U.S. senator and calling him out, picking a fight with him. Again, this guy, like 3 KOs or TKOs in mixed martial arts fights, lifts more than 400 pounds, and he was not working in his father's business. His father owned a plumbing business. His father fell ill. MarkWayne came back to run his father's business. His father died. He took the business to new heights, and he's now worth like $70 million because he's built a heck of a business based on what his father started. And so this guy's going after his business, this gangster, going after his business and insulting him personally and then picking a fight with him. And Bernie Sanders, you should know, the Bolshevik, is sitting right there. He's the chairman of this committee. And Bernie the Bolshevik is sitting there with picking food out of his teeth while this exchange is taking place. And then MarkWayne Mullin and SOB.
Sir, this is a time, this is a place. If you want to run your mouth, we can be 2 consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big
No,
guy.
no, stop it.
Is that your solution every
Hold it. No, sit down. Sit down. Look at you. You know, you're a United States Senator. Sit down.
Active.
Oh, okay.
Sit down, please.
All right.
Can I respond, Mr.
Hold
Chairman?
it. Hold it. If
Hold
we
on.
can't, no,
This is
I have
what
the
he
mic.
said.
I'm sorry.
This
We're
is what he
standing up.
said.
You'll have your time.
Okay.
Can I respond?
Oh, no, you can't.
No, you can't.
This is a hearing. And God knows the American people have enough of contempt for Congress. Let's not
I don't
make
like
it worse.
thugs and
You-
bullies.
You have,
And that's
you
what-
have
I don't like
right
you
to-
because you
Hold
just
it.
described yourself.
Hold it.
So that's just how it's going. And I got to say, MarkWayne, again, I met him a few times, and I like the guy. He seems like a very normal person. And we should have more guys like this in the United States Senate, and fewer like Bernie Sanders, who's a Bolshevik and not on our side at all. And my grandmother would beat him up, and she's been dead since the 1970s. So that's great. Then last night, MarkWayne, Senator Mullin of Oklahoma went on the Sean Hannity program to talk about this gangster.
People tell me, I've had media come out to me and says, this isn't coming of a senator. I was like, listen, I'm a guy from Oklahoma first. In Oklahoma, you don't do this. Maybe you run your mouth in New Jersey. I don't know. I'm not from New Jersey, but this is some thug. That's a mob boss, and you're supposed to be intimidating because he's the boss of the Teamsters. And he's got away with this. He's got suspended by his own Teamsters before for intimidation. He's been in trouble multiple times. He in 2022 he said he wanted to bring the mob mentality back to the Teamsters. Maybe that's true, but you still aren't going to run your mouth at me and expect me to just sit there. And you should have seen the fear of his eyes when I stood up, too. I'm not joking. I'm not looking for a fight. I used to get paid to fight professionally. I'm not really looking for it, but I'm sure not going to sit back and let somebody do that and not call him out on it.
James Comer, Congressman Cenk, good for him. And I think he did the right thing, Senator Mullin, all the way around. And this gangster Teamster guy who literally said he wants to bring organized crime or something back to the Teamsters. He's not a good guy, and Mullin is the perfect guy to send out there. And Bernie Sanders should pick the food out of his teeth and stop being a communist. But that's me. I'm not going to be able to get to another fun one. Chairman James Comer yesterday had to take on a Democrat member of the House, Jared Moskowitz, who's been smearing Comer and lying about him and trying to set him up as being as corrupt as the Biden family. And James Comer put Jared Moskowitz in his place yesterday during a hearing as well, called him a smurf, among other things. Called him a smurf. If you saw him, he was dressed kind of in purple, and he got a funny little Oompa Loompa haircut. And he did look like a smurf. No doubt about it. The media loved all this, of course, because they're such clowns. Hey, the governor of New York wants to spy on everybody and put people in jail for speech and for thoughts because she's a self-described liberal. That's coming up. Our news media is terrible, and so is the BBC. The BBC came on the air and apologized today because they made a mistake. They said that the Israelis were killing medical workers and things and targeting them. And it turns out that actually they were bringing medical workers, but The BBC, they came on to apologize.
And now an apology from the BBC. BBC News, as it covered initial reports that Israeli forces has entered Gaza's main hospital. We said that medical teams and Arab speakers were being targeted. This was incorrect and misquoted a Reuters report. We should have said IDF forces included medical teams and Arabic speakers for this operation.
That's kind of different. That's a little different. Wait, the team included, they didn't target, but they included medical teams that they brought with them to provide medical services. But the BBC said that they attacked the medical teams. We misquoted a Reuters report, which misquoted Hamas, which made up a lie, which makes it the perfect journalistic circle. In New York, the governor there is Democrat Kathy Hochul. She's not a good governor. She's got a new idea. They're standing up a statewide government unit that will monitor social media and contact people that they accuse of hate speech, and they could face charges, which means prison. Democrat Party fascist Kathy Hochul.
We're very focused on the data we're collecting from surveillance efforts.
Surveillance.
What's being said on social media platforms.
What's being said?
And we have launched an effort to be able to counter some of the negativity. Reach out to people when we see hate speech being spoken about on online platforms. Our media analysis, our social media analysis unit has ramped up its monitoring of sites to catch incitement to violence, direct threats to others.
They've got a media analysis unit and surveillance of social media because hate speech.
And all this is in response to our desire, our strong commitment to ensure that not only do New Yorkers be safe, but they also feel safe. Because personal security is about everything for them. As I said, no one walking down the street or in a subway should feel they have to hide any indications of what their religious beliefs are.
Yeah, but that's what's happening now to Jewish people because of Democrats. And so they're standing up a surveillance unit, and they say they'll contact people that they think may be guilty of hate speech, and if it could lead to violence, then it's the jail for you.